Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jaco with Unleashing Intuition Secrets, joined once again by the governor, Kevin Hoyt. And, it's a lot of stuff is going on out there. What you been up to, Kevin?
It's been a minute, Mike. And yeah, the world is chaotic and upside down. And I feel very free today. But yeah, at the same time, I've left Vermont State. I'm no longer there. So there's lots of things happening on all sorts of different levels. I guess if we want to start with disclosure, a lot of people didn't know that I had a daughter, right? The same exact people that I've been calling out for child trafficking over the last 8 years. They kidnapped my daughter about 8 months ago. So on top of the death threats and the political stuff and the lawsuits and everything else in my life, they stole my kid. People ask me all the time, like, where do I get my drive and my passion? Well, now you know. And for a long time, I wasn't able to talk about that. Certain people knew, you knew about it, but the public did not know until, again, I had hands on. I got my daughter back about 3 weeks ago. So we've been on, I guess, tour of the country, spending way too much money, doing some more investigating. At the same day that I got my daughter back, my first 3 lawsuits also hit in Vermont State. So we're seeing a lot of, I guess, disclosure on the back end. It's still not public, but more missing officials, more all systems going, down, not just Vermont State, but across the nation. So I don't know if I'm almost lost, Mike, in the fact that I think everything that we see right now is fake from both sides. I'm not buying any of it. Been watching your podcast, some of the few I've been keeping up with, and I don't know. I mean, I hate to say I disagree, but the doom and gloom factor. I've got friends in LA that were asking officers, "Hey, man, like, where are the riots? What's going on in Boston?" And I do think there was isolated incidents. I think that's a narrative. My personal opinion, I think we're hitting the bad guys. I think LA just got hit. I think New York and Boston, these people got hit, and they're using this as cover. Same with Israel. May as well trigger a bunch of people. I think we're taking out Israel right now. America, the bad half of Israel, along with the bad half of the United States and the bad half of, I think, North Korea and Iran and China and Russia. I think they're our allies as much as they're our foes. So I've unplugged. I've tried to, again, go on vacation, I guess, a long overdue vacation, just trying to keep my daughter safe. But getting my daughter changed everything. Really did. I didn't have a problem getting in there, neck deep, going to the sheriff, when it was just me. But it's not just me anymore. So now primary focus is going to be on keeping my child safe. I have to keep her out of my home state. As a candidate for governor, by the way, they stole my child. I called the attorney general here in Vermont. You think I'd get a call back? No, sir. So I think this just implicates and exposes more of them on that same front. They're passing laws to stop me too. Did you know that? Did Tracy tell you? S59? We got a stop Kevin Hoyt bill. Literally, they named me like 20 times. And again, just opened it up for another, I think, defamation suit and just craziness. I know your life has been crazy, and moving and Michelangelo and all the different crazy things in your life too. We only got to be apart for about a week, and a lot of things happen. It's been a month plus, I think. So how you been? How you holding
Good.
up?
I'm all over the news. That's what I do. I follow it.
Yeah.
Now I knew your situation. So, I put in the description that we're talking about child trafficking here in Florida. Today, they announced they saved 60 children in Florida's largest rescue operation. They're calling it. This just recently broke a few hours ago. And then, of course, we have U.S. Marshals find 200 missing children across the nation, 2-week sting. So this was kind of what we saw in the first term of President Trump's tenure. And then it went bad for 4 years, and now it's starting to reverse. Do you think that you got any relief maybe from because they're pushing? Because I hear a lot of people are getting relief in a lot of different areas. Because we're streaming live right now on YouTube, and I haven't been able to show my face at all on YouTube for years.
Right. I do think we're getting relief. Again, I think I think the good guys are controlling everything, including the media. Even today, we still only know what they want us to know.
Mhm.
And I'm not in LA, I'm in Vermont. So I call my friends in LA. They're telling me what they're saying on the media is not exactly correct. And when all the media, all the radio stations, everybody's saying the same thing, I'm aware now that that's probably a false flag. So I'm not buying any of it. But I think the good guys, unfortunately, are using the same tactics the bad guys did. They're using propaganda to sway your opinion. And what I tell people is that news is not for us. I said for a long time, I think the Trump brand campaign, I don't even know if that's Trump anymore. I think he's been outing bad guys for years and years and years, right down to you saw the confrontation again. Elon and Trump had a dispute, right? They need to push more cuts. I think they waltzed that in beautifully. But during that discussion in the White House, Elon's got a black eye. Trump calls it out and notes. I want people to go back and watch that. You
Yeah.
don't have to be a television producer to see the mask neckline that Elon's got. That's not Elon, guys. We are being lied to. And even I get sucked back into it at the same time. And after I
Yeah,
got my
he
daughter,
disappeared for like 2 weeks, he was gone. Kinda reminds
yeah,
me of, Governor Newsom disappeared for
right,
2 weeks. I don't think
right.
that's Governor Newsom either.
Well, that's I'm seeing that. We tell people, hey, that's not Joe Biden. Have you seen the
Right.
latest Joe Biden, by the way?
Mm-mm.
Like it's a picture with Jill and Jill, it's Dr. Jill Biden. The look on her face is like, you guys are really going to call this? It's not even close. But I think that's all optics because how do you tell the people, these, again, this incredible story? I think this is how you tell them. But I went almost into panic mode. People think we're invincible too. Again, when I got my daughter back, first thing was fight or flight, and I kind of ran. I'll tell everybody up front. I want to get her out of Vermont and as
Yeah.
far away from that system as I absolutely could. So I left and I toured, the East Coast, and had no plan, had no idea where I was going, but I ended up underground, Natural Bridge, Virginia. I had a meeting in Virginia. Had some business I had to take care of down in the Carolinas. But the whole way down through, I don't know why. I was on roads. I didn't even know where I was going. I was just driving. And I found myself at all these really unique locations. And Subterranean was the general theme. I went underground, basically from Georgia all the way back to Vermont. Our mountains are hollow, right? These caverns, these tunnels, and they show the public some of it. But a lot of these rescues that you're talking about, they're from underground. And I'll remind everybody, our military, not just the United States, but the world's militaries have been training for subterranean combat for decades. That's for a reason. The same with these, alleged earthquakes and all the things they're telling us that are
Mhm.
happening. I don't buy the TV anymore. So, but I thought it was amazing how, again, without a plan, God was still bringing me to these certain places all over. And again, I had my daughter with me, which is really cool. She's getting a heck of an education too. And we had a lot of fun. Money wise, I have trouble with this one, but I need help. Anybody wants to help the governor? I'll tell you the lawsuits that I filed and put in, and the mailing alone and shipping has been incredible. I've never had any help. I've never made a nickel off of this. And if people want to help, again, cash tag Governor Kevin, right? That's on Cash App, right? People want to help me out. Other than that, I don't know what to do as far as asking for help. I'm hoping people are standing up. I'm seeing, millions of Kevin Hoyts all across the nation. My computer is lit up. I haven't done any podcast in the last 2 weeks, but man, do we have lots of stories of people coming forward. So another gentleman I wanted to get on your show is just it's yournews.com. This is citizen journalists, First Amendment reporters. They're looking for you guys. So yournews.com will give him a plug, Sam Anthony. If people are interested, if you've got a podcast, if you've got a story, give me a call, give Michael a call. Check out that Your News because they're looking for, again, reporters, real news, because we don't trust them anymore. So I think the timing's it's kind of perfect. It's hitting from all angles, all at the same time. And I think we're, again, watching the fall of our U.S. government. And I think the Israeli government, even though they're not telling you yet.
Yeah, we saw in the Q reports and everything that Israel will be safer last. So I think that Iran is definitely, because I worked overseas, for decades, and Iran
Right.
was the instigator
Bad.
of all the problems. Killed a lot because of Iran. A lot of my friends are gone. So there is. I'm pretty happy to see that we're basically hitting them hard.
Yeah. See,
Uh,
I think that's narrative, Mike.
yeah,
I think and again, I don't want to be, these people were chanting death to America. Iran's not good, or Serbia, or you can pick your, Middle East country essentially. But I think a lot of that was dealt with a long time ago. The capitulation tour started in Saudi Arabia. That's King dance with the sword. And you guys remember this, right? It wasn't that long ago. So I think what we're seeing is, I think the bad Iran's getting taken out, along with the bad Israel, along with the bad US. I think the world was divided. So I do believe in a good guy alliance. Still haven't met anybody other than you and me, right? We're doing it. But I think there's somebody bigger, more powerful, and there's some bigger things at play. And we're all about to learn stuff that, we couldn't even conceive of, even the people who think they're awake. If I've learned anything, it's how much I didn't know, and the things that I thought I knew, most of them turned out to be wrong, right? Like the whole history for sure. Did they add 1,000 years? The whole virtual reality theory. And man, I don't know. I'm getting pretty good at manifestation. Again, they had a criminal charge against me, another criminal charge. The lawfare continues, the targeting continues. So the latest crime was allegedly going to a hospital to see a newborn baby, right? I didn't have any conflict with anybody, but I had a no trespass order from a couple of years ago, per the state. So that was dismissed this morning. I actually had court this morning. This is the winning look, new tie along with the hat. They can't take it. So they dismissed the case. So I'm free and clear from all criminal charges at this point, which is pretty cool for now. But they're trying. That S-59 bill that we talked about, essentially, this is the scary part, and I'm watching it on the national level with the No Kings tour. They're making people afraid to assemble. And then
right.
I'm watching it on a state and local with S-59 here in Vermont. They're trying to take the public out of public meetings. They're making it a crime to ask questions, to put in a FOIA, right? And the lies they told. And I mean, it's pretty incredible stuff. That passed. My governor, again, CCP, turncoat, traitor, infiltrator, Phil Scott here in Vermont State, he signed that bill. So again, they're trying to remove all sorts of things. They don't want me to go to other towns that are not my towns. And again, that 2 minutes of uninterrupted public comments, they're trying to remove that. I actually had a legislator in the S-59 ask, well, is there any way to remove the public from public meetings? Do we have to invite the public? I'm like, that's a Kamala Harris question. Do we have to include the public in public meetings? Yes, you do, right? So that was pretty incredible. And again, the lawsuits that I just put in have to do with that police officer that's been impersonating a police officer appointed by a two-time convicted police chief with a Brady letter. You couldn't make this stuff up, right? But we had nowhere to go until now. So finally, again, we've got some court actions in Superior Court, and then we've got some civil court actions again for violating my First Amendment, because I'm not going to take it anymore.
So how were they? Can you talk about how they were able to actually get your daughter to begin with?
Well, and again, this is the setup. This is DCF CPS. So what they do is they talk about the Title IV funding, Title 4D and 4E. People didn't realize this, but essentially Title IV funding came into play in the late 1970s. So that explains the boom in the early 80s of divorces. And from that, again, they had to create family court. Family court never existed. Anybody out there ever been involved with family court, it's no good. So what this is the federal government has incentivized state sanctioned child trafficking. Here in Vermont State, we get a little over $2 billion worth of federal funding every year. So Title 4E is where they essentially match child support. So let's say you're paying $1,000 a month for child support. The federal government matches that. right? So what that does is now it's incentivized. We got two bad parents. We'll say mom's a heroin addict, dad's a upstanding citizen, just throwing out scenarios. What'll happen in that case is 9 times out of 10, the court gives them to the heroin addict, the bad person.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, it's all about the money. They're not going to get child support out of a heroin addict. They're not going to get anything out of this person. That's Title IV money, that matching state federal money. So what they do is they give them to the heroin addict, and then the dad, or it could be the mom, I'm just throwing out scenarios, the good parent, if you will, they'll go bankrupt because it's their child. So they're going to pay child support. They're going to do everything they can because it's in the best interest of the child. That supports it. So just the matching child support alone is enough money to pay for your attorney general. In fact, family court generates enough money to pay for criminal court and all the courts. It's like a self-contained, again, problem, reaction, solution. It's the same scenario. They created a problem, right? The solution is they created family court, and now that makes enough money to run the whole shit show, if you will. Title 4E is where it gets even more devious. For every child that's taken away from parents, the state gets paid almost $250,000, about $225,000 per child. Therefore, the courts have incentive to take children away. And again, I know Texas passed laws that actually you have to rule judges, counselors, lawyers. Again, we've connected the drug dealers to the prosecutors, the child advocacy centers, the foster care system. A lot of times when they take children, they can't just throw them into the foster system. They'll get lost. So they have placeholders already there waiting with your child. So opioids is another huge part of this. Just an addict, just a junkie, right. We go through that. Those people were set up. Those people are part of this. Again, I mentioned the EIN numbers, all these matching. We've been racketeered, right? Racketeering. Those are finally starting to hit now in Vermont state. What was the word? An association, an administrative disillusion is what it's called. Essentially, that illegal law library that I talked about, that's all of our judges and our high-end lawyers here in Vermont state. They created a fake Samuel H. Blackmer law library where they're embezzling money and money laundering. That's hit. So again, they've been placed under administrative dissolution. I had to look it up. That's not voluntary. That means somebody came in and dissolved your criminal enterprise. That's the feds. It's the only people that do that, right? So I think all that, again, their law licenses are being removed, and we're going after judges now. Again, I'm
Nice.
dropping back and punting, but I have to change my tactics. I told you I'm turning into the U.S. Navy. I'm going to send 5,000-pound rounds, but they're going to be from 50 miles out, hopefully from an undisclosed location. So I plan on doing a lot of my fighting now, I guess, on paper. I still continue, plan on doing, podcasts and going through that. But the evidence that we have is so overwhelming. Unfortunately, it comes back to no prosecution and no enforcement. So I give it to you guys, the people, so you can make your own discernment. And it's so over the top. We caught them so cut and dry now. They can't deny it. They can't answer. They can't do anything. Can't answer FOIAs. We have to sue them to get answers. And I think even the courts, and in this case, the Criminal Justice Council in Vermont, I think they were implicated as well. So we're hoping these guys investigate, charge, and prosecute themselves. We're right back at that same catch-22. I don't know if that's going to happen. I hope it is. I think it is. But just in case, I give it to you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. That family court stuff is a mess. I remember a buddy of mine, his last name was Patton, and he had a son. He had actually 4 children, and his wife went down the tubes. She got into drugs, started fooling around, all kind of crazy stuff. So he's divorcing her, and he's taking care of all of his kids. And it's a lot. He's still a SEAL and still working as a SEAL, and he's got these 4 kids, and he's raising them himself. And the judge awards his wife, who doesn't work, who is a drug addict, and who doesn't look after the kids anymore. He awarded her like an incredible amount, like half his income or something crazy. And he struggled. We actually had to take take up, get funds to help him out. It's insane.
Well,
Unfortunately, his son Eric Patton was one of the ones that was killed in one of the missions in Afghanistan. When one of those helicopters went down and went in to rescue those guys. So it's a mess.
it's the
family court
defense
system.
attorneys.
Yeah.
It's the bar. The people, the defense, they're supposed to help you are part of it. So I'm telling you, it's like the plea deal. Everybody gets paid, not just the prosecutor and the judge. It's the guy that's supposed to be, the first time the judge hits the gavel and takes a recess, and your lawyer looks at the enemy and goes, "Hey, are you and Nancy coming over this weekend for golf? And we're going to start the barbecue at 3." And you're like, "What is going on?" It's because, again, George Carlin said it, right? There's a big old club, and we're not in it. Right?
You ain't in it. Yeah.
It's about making money for the system, this self-contained ecosystem that they've designed and made off of our backs, off of our slavery. And what we're finding out is off of our children. I know Arizona lit up as well, right? Arizona, they had those meetings all day, legislative action, where they took testimony. They called out DCF. They called out judges by names. Very hopeful for that. Sheriff Mack, Richard Mack, I plan on hopefully getting him over here to Vermont with the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. They took his grandkid. Sheriff Mack couldn't get it. I mean, this is the level. And
he was telling me about the last time I talked to him, I had him on a show in the background. So yeah,
it can happen to anybody. And again, for a long time, I guess that was my secret, right? I couldn't even tell people about it.
Well, that was one of the reasons why they were coming after you and using that. And that's why they came after, Sheriff Mack and his family, because he's basically revealing, like all of us are. They find an edge, a lever to come in and, work us.
And the opioid issue is a giant one. And again, for years and years, the CIA is the one that brought it into the country. And then law enforcement, when they weren't molesting our children, they were the ones that were distributing it. And I backed the blue. I got to say that after, because there's a lot of good guys out there. We need you right now. But the Suboxone dealers, the methadone dealers, right? Again, we just switched, I'm going to say, street drugs to big pharma drugs. It's the same exact thing. It's the same. In fact, it's worse. It's harder. Get off of. It's worse for you, right?
That's the way it was for my son, trying to get him off Suboxone. We went over to Cancun and got ibogaine treatment and got him off that, and so he was good. And as addicts are, they usually wander back if they don't have extreme, somebody watching them every second.
Gotta have aftercare.
He got back on it, got him clean again. It's the same thing for, unfortunately, people that are addicted. It's just a constant cycle of getting clean, using again, getting bad, getting clean. It's wicked. It'd be great if we could get just drugs out of there completely, but that's not going to happen because there's too many people profiting from that and pushing that. And not pushers. We're talking like, political and law enforcement and corporations and all kinds of crazy stuff.
It all goes back to big pharma, making money, making a killing off of our children that are suffering. And again, those were setups. If you throw that into the family unit and how that works, again, the destruction of the family unit, right? They've been working on that for a long time. This all comes into play. Again, Title IV, that's the divorce rates. That's, with minorities, they paid black women. Well, we'll give you lots of money if the man's not there anymore. And they took the black man out of the black family. That hurt their thing, right? This was all
they're more successful just staying at home, pushing out kids, without a man around.
It was a setup. Whether it's that welfare system or the farmers, they did the same thing. You couldn't hang on to your 8th generation family farm. So you went to, JP Morgan. And he said, well, you just need to be a little bit bigger farm. But we've got everything lined up. Here's all the subsidy. And next thing you know, you're driving $1 million tractor. You're not farming anymore. You're slaving, right? But the Suboxone and methadone piece, the Suboxone and methadone clinics all revert our single moms. Again, you get pregnant. Oh my God, I want to better my life. You try to go for help, right? And they all send you to, in our case, Sunrise Daycare, that matching EIN. right? The
Yeah.
doctors, the judges, the courts, the methadone, everybody sends you. And I told you that's the screening center here in
Yep.
Bennington. So you
That's
got a
what my
bunch of
son pointed out to me too. He started pointing out, you see where that clinic is, you see where that where I go to do the psychological stuff. They're connected to the drug dealers because the drug dealers bought them. I was like,
that's right.
what?
Well, the same
They
that,
keep the whole cycle going. It's
the
unbelievable,
the
frustrating.
guys that are giving you Suboxone and methadone also run the rehabs.
Yes, yes.
Tell me that's not a huge they don't want you fixed, man. They want you back
No,
in the
no, no.
rehab, back over here. They'll give you more drugs until you're gone. So what they do with these advocacy centers, and again, people are trying to, better their lives and get help. They
Yeah.
go there and that's just a screening center. What they're really looking for is broke people. And if you're a single addict mom in Vermont, you already qualify. They all qualify on the poverty level.
Yeah.
But then they send in an advocate. In our case, again, Amelia Silver was her name. She's, was married to David Silver. That's at Samuel H. Blackmer Law Library. That's the whole political mess. So they come in as an advocate. They buy your first bra. They'll pay your car payment. They'll help you out with the rent. They'll become your best friend. What they're really doing is looking for family. And if your family's broke or you have no family, they're going to come take your kid. That's when they send in the drug dealer.
Yeah.
They've already got a placeholder for your child. There's somebody already involved with that, and they send in the drug dealer, and they don't care if mom dies or goes to jail or go to rehab. What happens to your child? That's the real, just like immigration. What happens to the kids? That's what that's about. And I think that's what we're looking at as far as distraction right now. Whether it's, the worldwide revolution, oh my God, that would get ugly quick. Or
Now,
World War
there's someone in
III.
the chat that got clean from Suboxone and fentanyl. There's always someone that gets clean. That's how they validate the system. There's a small fraction of people that become clean.
It's less than
Now,
1%.
I remember going to I would go with my son to because he couldn't drive and all that stuff because of all the crap he got into. But I remember driving him, and I'm very observant, as I'm sure you are, and dealers all over the place outside the clinics, and hitting people up, and it's just a mess.
The
It's
same. A lot of these people, I've seen people actually, I need to break. I need to dry out. My scabs are getting big and I feel like I'm going to die. So I'm going to go to rehab for 28 days. And it's just a cleanup. Their plan is to get right back or the same.
Just so I can survive long enough to get back on. Yeah, it's just
Suboxone is a great idea if they used it correctly. It's supposed to, you're on heroin, so we're going to get you on Suboxone. You're not going to be able to do heroin now, and we're going to slowly wean you and get you. You're not supposed to be on it for 15 or 20 years, guys. That's what's happening, and people are dependent now. They require it, and I know a lot of people that use Suboxone, and I'll tell you, without it, they are in trouble. Right? They are in trouble. That sickness. If anybody's seen the withdrawal that goes through that. And again, things like
I even remember, Kevin, that
right.
I was going to put my son in a clinic, and they were like, "Okay, what is he? Is he on heroin or is he on Suboxone?" Yeah. And I said, "Suboxone." I'm thinking he's going to be good, and they're like, "We can't take him because we can't clean him up." I was like, "What?"
This is the intent.
Suboxone is more addictive than heroin. We can clean him up in a few days off of heroin, but Suboxone.
They knew that. And I think ibogaine, that plant medicine, it's not a cure. It gives you about a 90-day window, but you got to have the
amazing. He had an amazing experience with that. Yeah.
And again, it works, but it's not a cure. It gives you a break, and then you have to come up with, other coping facets than, heroin or crack. But this shows you the intent because old big pharma, and I'm going to use OxyContin, right? OxyContin's ibogaine works on. It works. If you're addicted to oxys, I put you on eyeball, 8 hours, you're done, right? But if you're addicted to heroin, if you're addicted to crack cocaine, 8 hours, you're done. Suboxone and methadone, the new big pharma, doesn't work. Ibogaine doesn't work. So we have to get you off that first. So now, instead of having a nation of drug addicts, if they were just drug addicts, we could cure them. 8 hours, boom, you're done. No withdrawals, right? We come up with other there's a whole plan in place for you over here, and help, coping skills, working classes, the whole bit. But now in America, it's not cocaine and heroin. We're all addicted to fentanyl.
Yeah.
That's the fentanyl push in America. Everything, even the marijuana nowadays, is laced with fentanyl, right? So who
Mhm.
wanted fentanyl in their weed? You don't have a choice, man. Big pharma's getting involved in that too. So what happens is if you were just on heroin, we could get it over. But the truth is it's everything's got fentanyl in it in the US
Yeah.
because your government controls it. You can go to Canada
And
and get pure
I think that
cocaine.
might be what killed my son, because he was like
Yeah,
clean for almost 8 months.
right.
And he was telling me, he said he had to like meter in fentanyl, and just in case he got it with the
Yeah.
heroin, so he wouldn't die. I was like, oh my God. And
Yeah.
so when he was clean for 8 months, his resistance to all that stuff is gone.
Went down. Yeah.
And then for whatever reason, he started using it again. It's like he was doing so dang good, but that's the way it works. And I visited him, like a month before, and he was like incredible. At least I thought. And then,
It's
then
sad.
he's gone. It's just crazy,
Well,
crazy how that works.
I know my heart goes out for you. In fact, again, I gave you space for that reason. I felt really weird. I got my child back when you lost yours, and again, it's all a shared. I'm going to make myself cry even talking about it, Michael. It was a setup. It wasn't Michelangelo's fault or your fault or any of the people watching if you're suffering from addiction right now. And that's the thing. Like I said, if you can go to Mexico and get pure cocaine, you can go to Canada and get pure heroin. It's only United States. It's all cut with fentanyl. So now what happens again? I've got a solution, a way out of the opioid crisis. Is anybody interested? You should be. It's I think the biggest thing facing not only our nation, but the world. But what happens is we have to get people and we take, if you're addicted to heroin or crack or whatever it is, we have to put you on Suboxone or on oxycodone, right? So now we'll get you on oxys, old big pharma, and we give you enough so you're not sick. You're not going to be able to get high or whatever. You're not sick. And then we have to test you 30 days later
Yeah.
to make
Good.
sure there's no fentanyl or Suboxone or methadone. If it's just oxys at that point, then we can give you the ibogaine and it works. But we just went from an 8-hour treatment to now we have to wait at least 30 days to get the fentanyl and the Suboxone and all the other crap out of your system before we can even start to treat you. But this is where, again, a lot of my policies, I would call myself a Republican if I was going to pick a title, a conservative, right? If anything. But a lot of my policies are really, really liberal. I believe in needle exchange programs. That sounds crazy, right? But I've seen it. First year in Holland, it removed 1 million needles from the streets. Their kids couldn't go to school because it was filled with needles, right? But that whole aftercare, jobs training, the family
That's
support.
the biggest thing, Kevin. If we could
I
get
know
society to that point where it's just
it's
constant,
so easy, Mike. The
geez.
money's there. All we
Yeah,
do
I
is we
know.
take
I know.
existing
I know
money
it's there.
that
And
we're
there's great ibogaine. If they had ibogaine in the US right now, we would probably see addiction rate cut in half.
yeah. Well, you
Cut in
got to
half.
do it.
And then we
That's
have
where
the
I said,
systems that you're talking about. We could
yeah,
completely, and of
you
course, then you
can't
get
do it.
rid of the drug dealers because they don't make money anymore.
Yeah.
So there is a way, but not if we have people that are benefiting from it and don't care. And that's what we're trying to expose. But and it can be done, but it has to be people that are willing to go after the judges, to go after the cops, to go after the politicians that all push this. All of them, I wouldn't say all of them, but very, very, very large portion of them push this
I know.
stuff.
Well, that's the setup that we're facing, and how do you fix it? I still don't have that solution other than
Mhm.
telling you guys about it. But when it comes to policy, that policy's here. We just got to let that system crash. And then again, plant medicine, ibogaine specifically, I think is one of the big ways out. But it
I
has
agree.
to be a complete package. Right here in Vermont State right now, they're pushing safe houses where you can go get high with your friends in a local house. And right, that's a horrible idea by itself. If you
Yep,
put it
those are
with all
major.
these other pieces, then it works. But it's got to be a full. But you can't do this halfway, right? And all the people out there watching, imagine like right now, your loved one says, I'm finally sick and tired of being sick and tired. I want some help. and we say, okay, for $800, and if we can find a bed in the next 8 to 10 days, and blah blah blah, in the machine, right? It doesn't work. And then even if we find you a bed, it's a 28-day detox, if that, and we throw you right back in the same circumstances. It doesn't work. We have a less than 1% success rate using Suboxone and methadone. All that does is we get about an extra 10 years out of the addict, but they still die, right? So
Yeah.
I want solutions where people don't die. That would be really, really cool. So imagine if we actually just gave the people help, real, I'm talking about 18 months, minimum of 3 months to 18 months, a year and a half of your life with job training and sober living after and all these other components. And what they found is it's actually cheaper. Right now we're paying to, we Narcan you 25 times, send you to rehab 15 times, and we pay to put you in a prison. Eventually we're paying to put you in a box, and our coroners can't keep up, right? And they're making lots and lots of money off it as the population control. And again, the luge, this not only affects the addict, but everybody around them. In fact, the closer you are, the more it affects you. So again, imagine hundreds of facilities here in Vermont state where people could actually go. And again, not just the treatment centers and the therapeutics, and again, the mental health care about sober after living and jobs training. We're talking about hundreds of facilities, jobs. I need doctors and nurses, and but I need electricians and landscapers and laborers. And I mean, you're talking about, and then nobody else has done this. It's never been tried in the United States before. I care about my brothers and sisters in New Hampshire and in New York and in Maine, and we're all over the place, right? So we call that a return on an investment. It's another rare word for politics, but that's a return on an investment. That'll actually carry Vermont, I think, into the future as far as making money and dropping these outrageous taxes and going back to living. I think that's what's happening. I hope that's what's happening. And again, we're lighting up the courts involved with that little tiny criminal cop that we talked about on your show. That opens the door. These are the low hanging bottom fruit, right? This cop and the dirty police chief. But wait till you see where this goes, right? That ladder is accessible now, and you guys are going to watch me climb it step by step. The next step, and we're there, is the prosecutors, right? We're going after prosecutors and judges now. So if anybody wants to help me, again, financially, man, I could use some help, and I hate asking, but it's all going to go back to, again, the cause. Everything I do goes back to this cause. This is my life now. Never made any money. I'm fighting for you guys as well, just for you guys. Now I'm out. I got my kid. I'm free and clear. I could be okay. I'm going to be just fine. I guarantee everybody that. But I love you guys and I care. So I'm going to hang around a little longer, and I'm going to try to take out as many of these bad guys as I can. If you guys want to help me, Governor Kevin, hashtag Governor Kevin. So I appreciate it. I got some evidence, actually. You want to go through some evidence, Mike? Want me to show you some evidence?
Yep.
And you guys, you can tell me. I'll let you guys decide, right? We spent our whole lives being judged by these people. And image file, see if it comes up. I got to find it. Bear with me. I wasn't quite ready. But we can walk it through, and you guys can be the judge. This is so incredible. I got one. There it is. Make sure that popped up for you, Mike.
Yep, it's good.
Okay, this is our dirty cop, Mr. Thomas Cavino. And by the way, all of our records that we're about to go through come from one single source, and that is the Vermont Criminal Justice Council and Vermont Police Academy. They are the authority. So this is Mr. Thomas Cavino's work record. You guys can see he started as a Bennington County Sheriff back in 2001, 2002. And then the town of Paulette hired him as a constable in 2022 until current. He just extended over into Fairhaven in 2023, and now the town of Rupert in 2024. We'll go back to this. Can I, it's not going to let me skip files, is it?
No, I gotta, when I do it, I exit out and then bring it
I
up
have
again.
to pull up each one individually. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can do this.
I
okay. Does that one, do you got to let it in? You got to let it in too. Okay. We can do this. So here again is a letter from the Criminal Justice Council telling Mr. Covino he's finally certified. This is fantastic, right? We've got April 11th, as of April 11th, 2023, you're now qualified. You're certified to arrest people. Can you go back to that last page, Mike? Again, remember this date right here. Look at, he started in as a constable in the town of Paulette in 2022, right? 6/6/2022, he started. Go back to the next page. He wasn't certified until 2023. Did you guys catch that? He became a constable in 2022, but he wasn't qualified or certified until 2023. Do you see a problem there, Mike?
Yeah.
They put the cart before the horse, if you will, right? It doesn't work that way. So again, there's a lot of, we'll keep on going. It's going to take a second to do it this way. Open. There's your next one. And this just confirms what we're reading. Again, there it is again from the Criminal Justice Council. Basic training, level 1. He was finally certified in 2023. He was already constable in 2022. But if you remember, the very first start that he had was from a sheriff. He was a full-blown, go back to that first page again, one more time if you could. There's a full-blown deputy sheriff down here in 2001 to 2002, right? You guys just read he wasn't even certified until 2023. How was he a full-blown sheriff 23 years before he was certified? Mike, can you answer that question? They can't answer that question.
Yeah, somebody went in and paid somebody or know somebody that made dates go in the direction they wanted to go in.
Well, let's check it out. This is going further into his records. This is, again, from the same source, the Criminal Justice Council here in Vermont. And you see back in 2001 to 2002. Can you see my cursor? Can you see it on there? So basically from here down, this guy wasn't qualified for anything. He just barely passed basic training for correction personnel. And then he completed basic training for a part-time officer in 2002. If you look, he didn't even take a psych evaluation. That's an MMPI. You guys will see it's the fifth line down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, fifth line down. MMPI until 2013. So how, again, was he a full-blown sheriff if he, 12 years before he took a psych evaluation and a full 23 years, over 2 decades before he was certified and qualified? Mike, do you have an answer? I don't have an answer. How do you be a sheriff without a psych eval?
Yeah, that's not a possibility. There's so many psych evals that in the military and law enforcement that you go through. It's I don't know. All you could say is it wasn't documented, but they documented everything else. So that's kind of,
well, this is where it gets better because, again, if you're familiar with training records, these guys are constant. It's like every year they have 5 or 6 classes and courses, and it's everything. But if you look at Mr. Covino's record, you'll see he's going 2001, 2002, 3 up through. Then there's a huge gap.
Huge.
Right? And then again, he took a psych
years.
eval in 2013. Yep. Then he didn't take another psych eval until 2022.
10 years and then another 10-year break. Wow.
Right. That was odd to me. So again, I started looking around. What do you know? Let me send something happened there. I said, there's got to be something that's holding that up. And if you want to share the next slide, that would be an abuse prevention order. I don't know. Did you see that slide? I sent one over and you got another one to pull up.
Yep. There it is.
There it is. So again, over in New York State, they call it an OOP, an order of protection. So you'll see if you zoom in, or you can see it's 2016 is the date of that. So what happened is, again, he had an order of protection, or we call it an abuse prevention order here in Vermont. So again, this is a domestic. Somebody needed protection. New York is really, really hard on you. So New York, they have tough gun laws. The last box on this order of protection says Mr. Covino can't have guns. So this is a 5-year term in New York. So in 2016, right, he was issued an order from the court, said he can't have guns. This is a federal thing. to 5-year term. And then when that ran out, when that expired in 2021, the judge renewed it, which would tell me there's still an issue, there's still concern, someone still needs protection. It also tells me extended to 2026. So Mr. Thomas Covino cannot have firearms. But here in Vermont state, we give him firearms and badge. Can you even imagine? And hopefully people can see the danger in this. And I don't know if I got
Somebody
two
knew
more.
somebody that wanted to use him and put him in a position where he could be used.
Right. And I just added Mr. Covino's actual mugshot. If you want to share that, we'll show people what this guy looks like.
All right, so let me, for some reason, there it
I
is.
got two more that I sent over. We got to let people know, because again, in the town of Fairhaven, Vermont, Paulet, Vermont, Rupert, Vermont, and Bennington, Vermont, in the last 23 years, if you've been harassed, targeted, pulled over, ticketed, arrested, incarcerated, hospitalized by Mr. Thomas Covino, he was impersonating a police officer. That was a wrongful arrest, and you're entitled to compensation. And the town knew about it. It's even better. So again, I think this bankrupts at least 3, if not 4 towns in my state. So somebody's got a lot of explaining to do. So you can't pull up any of them, Mike? There's
Nothing
another
now.
one.
It's like it froze. I don't know what happened.
Of
Maybe I
course it
overloaded
did.
the system.
All right. Well, if you want to take us out of screen share, I can tell you the rest basically by memory. But essentially, what happened in 2023 is we had the constable named David Ricard in the town of Paulet, Vermont. He signed off on Mr. Thomas Covino. He said he did a background check. They did a polygraph. They went through this whole, process, if you will, just again, that he was certified to be an officer. That's when he became a full-time officer in Fairhaven, Vermont. That's when what basically happens, the Criminal Justice Council, you get a piece of paper from an authority that said, I did a background check and I signed off. They send it into the Criminal Justice Council and you become an officer. No one ever goes back and looks. No one ever goes back and verifies and checks. They took that officer's word for it. So we tracked down the piece of paper that was a sign off. The constable named David Ricard in Paulet signed off on Thomas Covino in 2023. That's when he was able to become a real officer in Fairhaven and whatnot. But the problem is right on your screen, Mike. You don't have to be a judge. You don't have to be a police officer. I'm just going to ask your audience in general. Can you pass an NCIC criminal background check with an abuse prevention order? Is that possible? The answer is no. That would come up. So it told me that there was no background check. And here's something else. You can go in and look on the back doors. If I was going to go in and do an NCIC check on Michael Jaco, that's protected information. It's personal information about Mike. So not everybody can do that. I would log in, and Kevin Hoyt did a background check on Michael Jaco on this date, and everything is noted. We can go back and look. Nobody ever did a background check on Thomas Covino, obviously, because he couldn't pass with an abuse prevention order. And that's just the beginning of his criminal record, but it's an obvious one. So I went over to Mr. David Ricard, and I said, Dave, I think, is a good guy, by the way. He was a fan of Kevin Hoyt. He followed my show. He liked me. Took him about 3 seconds to throw the other guys under the bus. So I went, Tom, Dave, how did this happen? How did you? And he was very clear. He didn't do a background check. It was done by the police chief, Bill Humphreys, in Fairhaven. Bill did the background check. So he just signed off on it. Then Dave had a heart attack and retired, right? That was, I don't know, a year ago. That led me back to Fairhaven, Vermont. Fairhaven, I put in a request for public information, pretty simple stuff. I wanted to know who in Fairhaven signed off on this alleged background check, and I wanted a copy of the polygraph. That's accounts payable. You guys, as taxpayer, paid somebody allegedly to come in and do a polygraph. Again, very limited field. It's expensive. You got to get the machine. You got to get the operator. There should be some receipts for that, right? The town can't answer it. They can't answer because they never did it. is what happened. And the town knew about it. So that led us again to a couple select board meetings where I think I withheld my dignity, maintained my cool. They lost their shit. They were on their feet screaming, throw them out. Cops are involved, the whole different bit. And that led, of course, to S59, the Stop Kevin Hoyt bill, where they don't want people to ask questions anymore. And it's not just me. It's not just conservatives. It's us, as in the public. They don't want people to look. They don't want people to know for obvious reasons, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like, you know, a lot of people in the chat know that their police forces are corrupted. And that's, we know that there's good cops, there's bad cops, there's good politicians, bad politicians, you know. It's all, everything
Is
pretty
there?
much
I'm still
infiltrated.
looking.
Yeah.
I don't know, Mike. That's what I said. I don't know who to trust anymore. The
No,
people I can,
no. I don't, yeah, you got to be
you know,
very, because we know a lot of people that were MAGA, and now we see people that are, you know, turning hard. And so I agree
still
that we all have
support.
to be vigilant and watchful, but you don't have to like go full, you know, retard and ultra critical. You know, it's like,
Well, that's
just be
true. I said,
observant. Okay, you have an opinion, that's fine, but don't like, you
yeah,
know, throw the baby out with the bathwater.
wow.
It's like we have
And it
like
was,
extremists. We have extremists on both ends, and
everybody
people
wants to
running around
talk
in
right now.
between, screaming and yelling. It's like I just watch it all. I'm like,
They're not helping.
you used to be someone that was helpful, but you're not anymore. So.
Well, this is where it's actually a blessing that I kind of was just touring and not podcasting, because I'm going to wait till the dust settle before I say anything, because what we're watching right now
Good
is
point.
not real. I know that much. Well, they're telling us it's not even close to right. Right. So until we can figure out what is actually going on, I'm just going to give you my truth. And, you know, you guys can take it or leave it. But I bring the receipts, and then, you know, you get to decide. And I think we're watching this not just in Vermont state. Again, this is happening in every single state, specifically, you know, Doge, the cuts, you know, fraud, waste, and abuse, but DCF, child trafficking. I think that's why, you know, look over here, World War III, right? I think
Sure.
there's a lot of deflection, distraction,
I
diversion. This is the only MO they got.
completely agree. Because we were told that, you know, we weren't told. We were like, you know, given information that the LA riots were just beginning, and
Yeah.
it was going to spread to all the cities, and it didn't. So, and
Yeah.
then when I look at like Portland, I saw some rioting in Portland. I was like, that looks staged. That looks
Yeah.
staged. So it's like, is that some of the stuff they were doing like 5 years ago? It's like,
Wag the
looks like the
dog.
same shit.
Come on, how much CGI have you seen from Israel already, shooting down planes or missiles? And I mean, I'm a television guy, so it's instant for me. But you guys, you got to verify even when you see something. First question, Ole, big shout out to Ole. Is it true? That's the first thing you got it. And if everybody's all saying the same thing, showing you those same clips, I can tell you it's not true. That's your first flag, man. Like,
Right.
unplug from that stuff. One of the other things I realized as I was traveling, number one, the cost of living is unbelievable, but life is uh, it's pretty good. I ran into a lot of people other than, you know, trying to survive in the same horrors that we're all going through. Life is still going on. The sun was shining, the water was beautiful, and people were still friendly. I didn't run into riots or nobody shot at me, and there was no one. Again, this doom and gloom, it's so easy to get, you know, pulled back into that.
That's
But when
because
I
you
look
went
at the
underground
state,
and you were like traveling
yeah,
incognito.
maybe. Well, that was true too.
I
And
tell you, when you're a truther, you go out there and you do these events. It's like a
you
crapshoot.
know, people recognize me still. It's amazing. I had a woman in, I think it was South Carolina. I just
Mhm.
stopped in for a water or whatever, and she what I needed something where I needed to show ID. I think I was buying chewing tobacco. There's my bad habit. But this woman, you know, she asked for my ID, and then she looked a couple times, and Vermont, you're Kevin Hoyt. I'm like, yeah, I am. You know, that was kind of cool, but it was just some regular lady working at
Just
a, you
random.
know,
That's really cool,
just
isn't
a
it?
random guy. Yeah, it makes my,
Beautiful.
again, I got to
I love
try to
that when it
stuff
happens.
my
Yeah.
head back in the door. That makes my day when that stuff happens. I'm glad
Yeah.
somebody's paying attention to this stuff. And it's all, again, they took my daughter. I don't know how much more extreme you get than that, right? So I
Yeah.
want people
Oh
to
yeah.
realize they take hundreds of thousands of kids every single year. And until we stand up and do something, and all these things is inconceivable and nobody wants to see it or believe it. It's not just me anymore. It's coming from every angle. Again, tens of thousands of people are all telling these same stories. We've got a problem, right? And it's them. It's the courts. Whenever, especially when it comes to child trafficking, whether it's medical kidnapping or the Suboxone, methadone, and the drug issue or crime, they'll use criminal court too, right? Whatever it is, immigration, environmental courts now, it's always the courts. The courts are key in this whole thing, your prosecutors and your judges. And I think that's what we're watching fall. So I hope that's what we're watching fall. I know I'm in it. Again, I can't stop even if I try. I tried. But I'm going to change my tactics a little bit. And anybody wants to help me financially, again, it sure be appreciated. Cash App, hashtag Governor Kevin. And I'm going to put it to good use going after the bad guys. That's my promise. So
Good deal. And, surviving out there is tough these days. So, yeah, help
let
out
me
if you can, guys.
let me give you an example too, because again, I haven't had a vacation for 10 years. I ain't done nothing. I was living on adrenals, got my kid. I said, I'm out, right? And I just went. So again, no plan, no reservations. Oh my God. I
Done that
spent
a
way
few
too much
times over
money.
the last several years.
And it's so unbelievable to live like that to start
Brake
with. But to
lines
give you
cut,
an
all kind of
example,
crazy stuff. Yeah.
I get to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, beautiful area. I spent my whole life growing up down there, got family again. I had business. I had to meet down there. I go to the International House of Pancakes, IHOP. Everybody knows this. It was $31 for a waffle. You can get 2 pancakes for $25. It's the first time in my life I actually got up and left. I'm not paying $30 for a waffle, man. Again, that's
Really?
straight up
Wow.
inflation. By the way, they're paying like $2.46, I think it was, for gasoline as compared to our $3.19, up in Vermont state. So again,
Yeah.
there's a lot of, you see it all over the place. But the people that I saw the whole trip were pretty awesome. Still great people, that Southern hospitality all the way through. And the stuff I found in Virginia was incredible. Have you ever heard of Natural Bridge, Virginia? It's a big, I think it's Tartaria. It's an old stone bridge made of limestone. It was
I think I've heard of it. Yeah.
surveyed by George Washington and then given to Thomas Jefferson, underground rivers, underground tunnels. That's kind of where I started. And we just went from cavern to tunnel, like all the way up through the East Coast.
Wow.
It's hollow. That's where I said I knew that about here in Vermont state, knew about, Washington, been to Norway again last January to verify. We live in a hollowed out, cavernous earth. I'm not talking about the shape of the earth. Of course, I'll argue that one too. But again, we're hollow, guys. You get on, you get off the airplane in Washington, and then you go underground through tunnels for miles all around. This is what happens. Those tunnels continue. That one in Norway, again, I'm driving at 60 miles an hour for 20 minutes underground,
Yeah,
going
that was
under
amazing.
fjords. And there's side chutes with big padlocks and chains. They go somewhere, man. So the same with these caverns and stuff, which is spectacular. If you guys, I went to trying to think of the name of the cavern now. It's the biggest in the United States right there in Virginia also. But it's spectacular. The views, the, stalactites and stalagmites. And it's like walking on the moon. But I think they only show you a little bit of that,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
You
and
only get
all of those places,
it
all
goes
of these,
deep. They go deep. And
it's all military. Everyone that we stopped at, including right back here in Vermont, if you go to, again, the top of Equinox Mountain or Glossenberry Mountain, I want people to start looking at the military control, the guarding, the observation, the cameras. These are off sites. It's like missing 411, middle of nowhere sites. You start noticing that it's military. Even these caverns that you get to go to, there's a military presence in there. Because I think there might be some tunnels and stuff you could probably, find stuff that I want you to find out about. My guess.
yeah, they have a nuclear drilling machines, which
Yeah.
basically, as they go through, they basically are turning the rock into molten rock, and then as it goes through, it basically smooths it, and I guess kicks some of it out the back. But yeah, it's crazy.
It is.
These things
Well,
can go miles a day
I
through
just did
rock.
another podcast with a guy named Jeremy Armadon, where we've got, again, nuclear runoff from some of our dams here in Vermont. I believe they have weapons underground at our locations here in Vermont state, guys.
Sure.
This is, again, we got giant guns. They usually go on battle destroyers and ships, but you can also put them on wheels and transport them. Got frontier or wilderness written on the barrel. They're going into these 411. Again, these are no access, tens of thousands of acres that nobody can go to, whether there's a Roman Catholic monastery or whatever reason they give you, right? And I spent most of my life as a conservationist. I believe in the Forestry Service. I liked our national park system. I fought for these guys. It's our land. They had no right to take our land, the federal government or anybody else. I like that they did and that we, saved some of it there, but I think it's more devious. I think there's some hidden treasures there. I think there's portals and all sorts of different resources and stuff that are being hidden along with military compounds, and we can get into hunting games and all those other horror things that happen too. Those are all real. I think they're becoming everyday common knowledge. Again, there's warrants out for Oprah and Ellen. You guys know where that goes. That's adrenochrome. Like it or not, it's here. Like it or not, it's coming. Brace for impact, right? I hope you guys aren't missing it. Yep. Help if you can.
Here's some.
Ooh. I think you froze up, Mike. They don't want you to look at the boring machines.
Guess they didn't like that. They just we just went offline for a second.
I was gonna say, I saw you.
All right, I'm gonna drop that out of there. I don't. It's God.
Back to Elon and his boring company.
Yep, right? Exactly.
No, that's what I'm saying. I think, again, as far-fetched as it is, I think we live underneath a firmament. I think during Project Dominic and Project Fishbowl, they tried to blast through God's firmament and failed. And now Elon and his boring company are trying to drill through the bottom. That's your crazy Kevin conspiracy theory for the day. You guys prove me wrong. Right? In fact, this is where you go into the esoteric. We talk about these arcs, these giant crystalline spacecraft that they're finding all over the world. That's real. From the Bermuda Triangle all the way up to the one in Ukraine, 2 miles long. In fact, that's how they found that, is they hit it with a boring machine. That's about a $2 billion with a B, $2 billion piece of equipment. So they broke their boring machine.
We talk about all that stuff. We'd have all those people on. We talk about all those all over the world.
I think that's first time I'm ever on stage with, again, Christiane Northrup, right? Dr. Northrup, high reveres. This woman is incredible, right? So we end up on stage. We're the main stand up, and I look over and I'm on stage with like all these incredible people. It's what an honor. She goes right to reptilians. Didn't even hesitate. Like, boom. I'm like, you go get them, girl.
Yeah, she's like, they dissed her, and she's okay, I'm revealing everything now. So.
No, full-fledged. And I think that's all coming out. So as crazy as some of these things sound for your viewers, I know they sounded crazy to me. And that's why it's the story that can't be told. Remember the beginning of the Q movement way back when? That's what they told me. It's the story that can't be told. And that pissed me off. I'm like, just tell me, man, I can take it. But I get it. You have to look.
Thing, yeah.
Well, and if you don't look yourself, you gotta do your homework, man. You're not going to believe me. I sound like a crazy. I mean, I can't argue that this sounds absolutely crazy, but if you look, that's why you have to look. If you guys invest your time and look, you make your own decisions. I just want to give you the right information, or at least my information. You guys get to decide if it's right or who you want to believe. I hope you're not believing them anymore. They lied to you. I know that much, right? So I'm trying, but I don't know all the answers. I still have no idea what I'm doing. I still don't want to govern anybody. I got the policy. I got some solutions. We just got to get rid of those guys first. So hopefully a few people start standing up, and that's the direction we're going. I think that's what we're watching.
Yep. All right, Kevin. Thanks so much for coming on. Great to see you. Great to have success.
Good to catch up. All right. Yeah. Tell Tracy I said hi too. I miss you guys. Good luck. All right. Later.